Since opening the fitting studio here almost 2 years ago, I think one of the most common patterns I see is we get to the part of the bag where we start working on the fairway woods and people want to test out some 3-woods. And what I've seen is the tiny percentage of people that can produce a usable ball flight with a 3-wood, even off a little tee, but especially off the deck. I want to show you a couple of things that I have found to be very effective that have changed the ability for many people to hit a 3-wood length shot with a club that isn't technically a 3-wood. Now, if you are a longer time viewer of the channel and you didn't happen to catch the video I just posted, let me just quickly say, you're gonna notice me swinging slower than normal. If you've never watched this channel before, you're probably not gonna care. You're just gonna see me swinging the club at whatever speed this is. Very quickly, my wrist is killing me. It has for years. My neck is killing me. I've got to make some swing changes that alleviate these problems. I think most people will just find it more relatable. Hopefully no one's going to care too much. So option 1, this is probably my favorite, is specifically a TaylorMade QI35 Tour. It's actually a 5-wood head though. So what I almost exclusively do is put the big fat sliding weight, which lowers the spin if you place it at the front. I place it at the front. But basically, people have a very hard time getting launch angle out of a normal 3-wood without also coming with a crazy amount of spin. How do we get the launch angle up? How do we get something a little bit shorter as well, easier to strike in a good part of the head without having too much spin, which would rob the distance? And this particular head, because it's such a, well, in this configuration, such a low spin 5-wood, it kind of ends up giving a lot of people ideal 3-wood numbers. And right away with this, what a lot of people like is, I look down at it, has a little bit more loft, obviously, than a 3-wood. It's a little bit shorter. The level of anxiety is already slightly lower. So I mean, it's a pretty good example. I'll hit you more than one ball, but that is something that with a typical 3-wood setup, people find very difficult to do. The ball speed's really nice on that. A lot like 3-wood numbers. It's not a good strike, very thin, very in the heel. But again, you still get a decent amount of carry because you have loft, you have a really forward CG position, and the spin kicks up higher than I want, you lose a little bit of distance, but this is already an easier, the penalty I find when people are going through fitting traditional 3-wood in this, the penalty for mishits, most people hit that shot on the course and go, okay, I was going for a par 5 at 240, I didn't quite get, or I need to fly at 240, I didn't quite get there. I can live with that. Not exactly gonna ruin my round. Should be a pretty balanced one, turned over slightly. But again, to get that height, that launch angle with the ability to have such balanced spin and a nice carry, I can tell you there's hundreds of instances I've had a person in, they wanted to come and get a 3-wood, they hit a couple, they get really discouraged, and I go, it's okay, like relax. I've met so few people that come in and test 3-woods and get like these great ball flights. Like, oh wow, it looks perfect. Like great launch, great spin, great accuracy. It's a lot more rare than people think. It's not an easy club to hit. So there's nothing wrong with getting a little bit creative with it. You just have to be careful. You can't just say, oh, a 5-wood's easier to hit than a 3-wood. Of course it is. It has loft and it has a shorter shaft. The reason I picked this exact model is the ability for it to have such a huge movable weight. Like nothing even comes close in terms of how much you can make it low spin. Probably felt like my best overall swing there. Yeah, just very, very easy to hit. So let's do a tiny fit on it. If I was doing this for myself, I'd say, you know what, you hit that one really, really well. We could probably lower the spin on this. If that player told me, hey, 250 is really more the number I want out of this on a good strike for carry. If you appreciate our honest, unbiased, no marketing approach, you can help support the channel in a couple of ways. Leave us a super thanks. You can actually order just about anything golf club or shaft wise through Golf Liberty. How'd we do? Yeah, we do well. Good. Good. Slightly different strike, to be fair, but a little bit less loft for sure, even with a slight push. Produce less spin. We got the carry up a little bit. So this, honestly, I think if it wasn't in the building, as an option for a fairway wood, I would be a little bit more apprehensive when someone comes in for fairway woods, because I go, man, if I get the typical person who really can't produce decent launch conditions with the 3-wood, it's gonna be a tough conversation, because then it's more like, dude, you don't have a swing that can make this happen. This is something that I find is just so much easier. The silver is really grown on me, the flat silver. I think the Kylie dark wave that they call it, stock shafts, I actually think they're quite nice. I've got the blue model here. There's a white model that's a little stiffer. For the club head speed that I'm swinging at, it actually would be quite appropriate. I got a 75-gram stiff in the blue model here. Seems to be giving me a pretty good control of the strike location. Again, I'm not looking for the shaft to all of a sudden change those launch and spin, but what gives me a pretty easy time squaring the face up, what controls the strike, what helps me avoid the worst miss on the strike, that'll be a pretty nice match. Now, if for whatever reason your 3-wood spot is exclusively going to be a tee club, let's just say you have a club that you hit you hit off the fairway that you're happy with. It's like your hybrid's your longest club off the turf. You don't need that at your course. You don't need a 250 shot at your course. It would exclusively be driver alternative. I can't believe I'm saying this, and I said it in my last video. Mini drivers are becoming sort of relevant. The player that has trouble hitting 3-wood off the deck is not looking at this as an off-the-deck club. Believe me, that's not what I'm saying. This would be for someone who cannot get a normal 3-wood, even off of a short tee, to produce decent launch and spin. They need a club like this that's bigger, that is lower spin, that has less loft, but can be teed up higher, so it starts to change their angle of attack. It can change their launch and spin. It's different. Yeah, very different. So it's a good shot. Not much I would change about that. It's one shot, but I'm fitting somebody. My immediate concern would be, okay, let's make sure that's not going too far. Is that too close to your driver? There's obviously ways you can play with that. There's a little bit of shaft length available. You can adjust the loft of this. You can pick mini drivers that are a little bit higher spin profile than others. Like, for example, TaylorMades are notoriously super hot, which is great for certain people. Yeah, it's a little different there. It's kind of choked down just to take a little bit of the club head speed away. But again, you'll find a lot of people can't produce that kind of high launch, low spin flight, honestly, in some cases with their driver, but certainly not with that 3-wood club. In the case of this particular player, if it was the same discussion from earlier, hey, I kind of want to hit it more like 250 carry, great. The first one I hit was more like 265 carry. That might be too far. So you can, with a fitter, mess with lengths and lofts and all kinds of stuff. It's really about putting a useful club right below your driver. And a lot of people have a completely useless club right below their driver. Don't be afraid to get a little creative with it. Try some non-traditional settings and clubs that are maybe not intended for that part of the bag. But again, like I've said about a lot of things, irons included, if it produces the distance, the height, the launch, the spin that you're looking for, and it's easy enough for you to hit, who cares what it actually ends up being?